So what if you could completely change your relationship with your own mind? Well, we're about to unpack a blueprint that does exactly that. And listen, this isn't about fighting your feelings. It's about finally learning to master them. Just let that sink in for a second. What if every single feeling you have, from frustration to joy, isn't something you need to fix or get rid of? And that right there is the key difference. See, most of us are stuck reacting to our emotions, pretty much letting them run our lives. But high performers, they've learned to observe them first. Today, we're going to learn how they do it. So here's our game plan. We'll start by figuring out the trap that keeps us stuck. Then we're going to make a huge mindset shift. After that, we dive into a super practical 5-step framework, see it in action, and find out what true mastery actually feels like. Okay, so what exactly is this emotional trap? Well, it's that feeling we all know, right? The feeling of being a slave to your own reactions. A tiny spark of anger becomes a really sharp comment. A wave of anxiety leads to, you guessed it, procrastination. The goal here isn't to stop these feelings, but to stop letting them run the whole show. And this brings us to the absolute core truth of this whole thing. We are not aiming for emotional control. Honestly, that's a losing battle. What we're aiming for is emotional awareness. It's not about getting rid of your emotions. It's about upgrading your relationship with them. This chart just breaks it down perfectly. The old way, control, is all about fighting, trying to suppress your feelings, which, let's be real, only makes them stronger. But the new way, awareness, is all about curiosity. It's a huge shift from being an enemy of your emotions to being more like a detective. So let's put a clear definition on this skill. Emotional awareness means catching a feeling when it's just a whisper, not a full-blown roar. It's about giving it a precise name, not just calling it bad. Then, it's about figuring out where it came from. And finally, and this is the most crucial part, it gives you the power to choose how you respond, instead of just letting the emotion choose for you. Okay, theory is great and all, but how do we actually do this? That's where this 5-step framework comes in. Think of this as your practical, step-by-step guide to building the skill of emotional awareness in real time. So this is the process right here. Catch, name, identify, separate, and choose. Each step builds on the last one, and together they create this sequence that slows down your automatic reactions and puts you right back in the driver's seat. Step 1 is all about early detection. Most of us don't even notice an emotion until we're already yelling or completely shutting down. The trick is to tune into your body. Is your chest getting tight? Are you clenching your jaw? That physical sensation, that's your early warning system. Awareness starts way before a reaction does. Next up, you've got to name it precisely. Saying "I feel bad" is just way too vague. Is it frustration? Disappointment? Neuroscientists actually have a term for this. They call it affect labeling. And get this, studies show that just putting a specific word to a feeling can literally calm down the emotional parts of your brain. You get power over what you can name. Emotions don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're triggered by our thoughts. So the key question to ask yourself is always, what expectation of mine was just violated? Maybe you expected a coworker to be on time and they weren't. Boom, that is the trigger. Once you can identify these triggers, you start to see the patterns in your whole emotional life. This right here, this is the heart of emotional mastery. Your feelings will absolutely scream at you to do something. Send that angry text, eat that whole tub of ice cream. This step is about creating a space, a little gap between the feeling and the action. That tiny pause, that's where all your freedom is. And finally, in that little gap you just created, you get to choose. Instead of just reacting based on the heat of the moment, you respond based on your values. Does this situation call for a calm conversation? Do I need to set a clear boundary here? Or you know what? Maybe the best response right now is no response at all, just taking a break. Choice is real power. All right, let's make this even more real. It's one thing to talk about the steps, but it's a whole other thing to see how they actually apply when emotions are running high in just, normal everyday life. Let's really make this practical. Imagine you feel a flash of anger because someone was disrespectful. The knee-jerk reaction? To lash out, right? But the chosen response is to pause, clarify what happened, and then set a boundary. Or what about anxiety that comes from uncertainty? Instead of freezing up, you focus only on the very next thing you can control. This is how you systematically go from a raw feeling to a constructive outcome. Now, mastering this isn't a one-time thing. It's a skill you have to build through practice, day in and day out. So let's talk about how to train this daily and some of the common mistakes to watch out for. So definitely be on the lookout for these common traps. Trying to suppress your emotions, that's like holding a beach ball underwater. It's going to pop back up eventually and probably with a lot more force. Same goes for labeling emotions as good or bad. That just gets in the way of understanding them. Remember, awareness is not about avoidance, it's all about engagement.
Here is a simple but incredibly powerful exercise you can start doing today. Seriously, just set a reminder on your phone for morning and night. Take 3 minutes and ask yourself these 3 questions. This simple habit will train your brain to be so much more aware and intentional minute by minute.
So what does it look like when all this training finally pays off? Well, it's a total transformation in how you operate in the world. You're moving from a state of constant reaction to a state of intentional action. If you only take one single thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this: your emotions are information.
They are not orders that you have to obey. They're signals from your brain telling you that something needs your attention. They give you data, and you get to decide what to do with it.
And when you really master this, the benefits are huge. You'll actually feel that little half-second pause before you react. You'll make decisions that serve your future self, not just your mood right now. Your relationships will get deeper because you're communicating from a place of clarity, not chaos. This is what true self-control is all about. Not suppressing who you are, but fully understanding who you are. Because, make no mistake, your next emotional wave, it's on its way. That's just an inevitable part of being human. So the only question that really matters is, when it arrives, will you get swept away by it, or will you be the one who chooses the direction? The choice is yours.